Hello and welcome to another episode of Beer Man's No Bull Beer Reviews. Today I have another beer from Cinderlands Brewing Company out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. This beer is called Desert Solitaire. Description says Brett Saison style ale, and it is 5.9 ABV. And that's all the. Oh, here we go. It says brewed with Pilsner and oat malt, fermented with Brett C and a blend of American European Saison strains. Exceptionally dry, funky, and effervescent. So this is a more of a traditional Saison, and well, I guess traditional wouldn't even have bread in it, but I don't think this is mixed culture, so it's not going to be tart or anything like that. I think it's just Brett. And so I did do a review of a dry hop version of this, but this is well, I don't know if it's the exact same beer, but I did a dry hop Brett Saison review from these guys, so I'm assuming this is something similar, except it's not dry hopped, and that's usually the case with Brett. But you can tell that it's very, very carbonated. Pretty cloudy, darker straw color with a couple fingers worth of really fluffy white head. Definitely a lot of Barney character in the aroma. Like that, they say wet horse blanket character. I do get some like wet hay, something that's more like grainy or earthy to it as well. And I know this isn't the dry hopped one, but there is some sort of like noble hop character in the aroma too. So it smells pretty good. Man, that's very, very dry. But there's this weird bitterness on the back end that I don't particularly like. But the foretaste is just like bitter it's like bready, funky, and earthy. And then it finishes very dry with a dry bitterness. There's nothing about it that I particularly really don't like, but there's also not anything that's super exciting, and I do like the dryness of it, but like I said, there's something to finish that's like very, very bitter. I think the dry hop one definitely had a lot more character to it. This is definitely a good beer to give to somebody if you're trying to explain to them what Brettanomyces does and what it tastes like. The actual funk flavor of it, and the effects of how it dries the crap out of a beer. This would be a very good example to give to them, because it has a good funk to it. It's very earthy, and it's also very dry, so it definitely has all the characteristics. But usually Brett C, and that's what this said, this was fermented with, is usually not quite as dry as Brett Bruck's. And it has a little bit of that fruity cherry pie filling pineapple character, but I'm not really getting that out of this. This reminds me more of like Brett Brooks or Brux Lamicus. Just like very very dry. Yeah, overall, I mean, when I took the first sip, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this because it was like very bitter up front. But I don't know what was causing that because it doesn't really have much hop flavor, and I don't know. It's one of those beers that sometimes you have something and you're like, oh, this is really good, and then you take another sip and you're like, yeah, it's pretty good. And then as you drink it, you're like, I don't really know if I like this as much as I thought I did when I first had it. This one for me is kind of giving me the opposite approach where I had it at first and I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. It's super dry and bitter, which I don't normally mind that, but it was almost like to the nth degree where I didn't necessarily appreciate it. And now, like every drink I take, I'm kind of becoming more numb to that bitterness, and I'm just getting that really nice dry Brett character, which I'm a big fan of in general. So I think on my scale of buy, drink, dump, I'm gonna give this a buy, but it's gonna be mainly driven by the price because this was only $8 for a 500 milliliter. Now, oh, excuse me. I know $8 for slightly over a pint seems expensive, but for something, anything that's like wild, and if it's packaged to go, that's generally a pretty good price if it's something of decent quality. I don't think this is amazing, and it's usually like Brett beers that aren't mixed culture beers don't have a ton of complexity, but they're usually very simple in what they are, and they're easy to drink and really nice and dry, and this kind of fits that bill. So I'm gonna say this is a buy because I could see on certain occasions wanting something that's just like super bone dry and bready, and this would fit that. So I think that's all I got in this one. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think, and I look forward to doing the next one. Thanks.